Celebrities going MGTOW. Imagine Ed Sheeran, Dave Grohl, or Jay-Z declaring themselves an MGTOW. Take a moment to consider what a scenario like that would be like. The effect would be similar to Louis Marco multiplied by 1,000. Can a genuine shift be achieved, or will mainstream media, government, and public relations misrepresent and undermine the message before any serious harm is done? What if a famous male star declared he was going his own way? In order to generate social proof for the Midtown craze, there are two approaches. Social proof is derived from celebrities' influence. We all know how powerful celebrities are. The public is often drawn to nearly 100 major actors and actresses, as well as singers. The focus of the future will increasingly be on micro-celebrities and micro-musicians, and less on macro-celebrities and macro-musicians. It wasn't long ago there was only 12 channels on television, and now there are 50 or 60. Channel selection has increased dramatically in recent years. We're witnessing the same phenomenon with celebrity power in the 21st century. As a result of social media, there are now thousands of micro-celebrities on YouTube instead of fewer hundred well-known figures. Even so, they're not as popular as well-known as their rivals. It was hoped that George Clooney would become a member of MGTOW, even though I am aware he's not currently a member. I would like to return to the idea of the three famous men going their own way. Several famous men have gone their own way, including Jim Carrey, who is a Toronto native who has gradually gone that way over the last 3 decades. Quite surprisingly, Carrey also had an 8-year marriage, which I find fascinating. He then divorced and then married Lauren Holly for less than a year, following which he was briefly engaged to RENEE ZELLWEGER, but was able to end the relationship as well. Does RENEE ZELLWEGER appear in any recent photos? There's no way you'll recognize her. Afterwards, Carrey dated Jenny McCarthy for 5 years, but the couple never got married. The more relationships he has, the less committed he is to women. His willingness to put himself in vulnerable situations with women seems to decrease as he has more relationships. In addition, I want to share a few lines from a recent article entitled, "Jim Carrey has no interest in getting married ever again," and I personally would follow his advice. The article prompted some thoughts. He appeared on Howard Stone's show on Tuesday. As soon as the conversation turned to love and relationships, Carrey said, "I simply don't see the need at this time to marry again." As Stern expressed surprise that Carrey wouldn't marry Jenny McCarthy, Carrey said, "Yeah, I don't do that." Carrey said, "I don't know how I'd feel if I met someone who would knock my head off." When Stone asked if the perfect woman who came along with the 52-year-old celebrity considered proposing, asked about the future, he said, "I can't draw hard and fast rules," but said, "I wouldn't do it voluntarily." It was there that Jim Carrey's message was summed up. At the end, he told everyone he was not going to get married again, even if the perfect girl appeared. Carrey's without a doubt a celebrity, but most women don't seem to care that he won't get married because he's past his prime and could be a father of many young women. However, a person like Justin Bieber saying that he's going his own way would scare a lot of teenage girls, as it would ruin their self-esteem. In the case of a famous guy rejecting a woman, the damage is not only done to the woman they initially desired, but also to all the other ladies. It would be detrimental to millions of young women's self-esteem if Justin Bieber rejects all women because of the female collective. He probably would be dragged into an accepted narrative that he was gay or that he was harmed in a relationship by the media and marketing apparatus. People like Justin Bieber wouldn't have agency over their romantic choices if they were covered by mainstream media or public relations firms. It's a common misconception that entering and exiting a relationship is a woman's responsibility, and the media would probably assume he was gay. If ever he declared that he was going his own way, I believe he meant that. Over the course of just 2 months from October to December, Louis Marco doubled his popularity of Midtown. Among Canada's top 102 channels in terms of views, his 2E2 channels generated over 5 million monthly views. In my opinion, he's a micro-celebrity, but everyone expects a big star like George Clooney to declare that he'll remain single forever. It is, however, the mid-tower that is more crucial. I think it would be a paradigm shift if 3 or 4 more YouTube micro-celebs in their prime came out and stated they were never getting married. In the end, many young men will break down and return into relationships after declaring that they will go their own way, and end up getting married or cohabitating. That would be a disaster for a major celebrity to declare that he was going his own way, only to later tie the knot a year or 2 later. Media feminists would use this example to argue that men cannot be independent long-term and aren't really capable of figuring things out for themselves. Similarly, this example would show how men can't operate on their own. The female marriage strike is just temporary for most women. So picking me up is their way of convincing themselves that men will soon return to paying attention to them. In contrast, if a well-known male celebrity became a parent through surrogacy rather than marrying and having children the traditional way, it would make surrogacy socially acceptable. What if Leonardo DiCaprio decided to surrogate for his children? DiCaprio has always gone his own way, dating actresses and models for years, usually for a year or two before moving on to the next. As far as I can tell, he's using the mayor of Midtown's method of having a rough end point and moving on to another. If Leonardo DiCaprio came out and said that he was only interested in dating models and didn't want to get married, it would be detrimental to his career. Having received all the attention he received when he was still growing up, I believe he realized that going his own way was the best course of action. Although this is the case, the mainstream media does little to cover his relationships, since it caters to women who watch soap operas and enjoy dramatized relationships. There aren't many mainstream media scandals involving famous men who go their own way. But if they did, it would certainly be in these types of plays. But in the mainstream press, any man who declares himself in MGTOW is almost certainly portrayed as misogynist or gay. It is women who run the mainstream media gossip mills, and they would be hard at work ensuring that women as a collective deny all agency to men at all costs when promoting the idea that men are allowed to go their own way. Even when the mainstream media ignores what is happening in Midtown, like the herbivore man in Japan, it became a household name. As soon as the cat's out of the bag, the community would have a new label for many single men I would like to know about. Therefore, I believe that all the new attacks on Midtown are related. It all comes down to men reverting to their cultural training, such as claiming married men can make towels, but alone men can't. Women's access to men determines men's worth, according to society. Therefore, society values married men, whereas it shames them if they aren't. As the popular opposite of MGTOW, MGTOW invalidates men in relationships while validating single men. It's a great idea. In contrast, people who were perceived as losers by society receive positive validation, while people who were perceived as winners receive negative validation. Are you able to see why married men want to be included in Midtown and why some men are offended that certain males who have difficulty attracting and retaining women are being rewarded for it? You don't need to worry about being single. Being single and becoming more fashionable than being with someone. Because of this, guys in relationships may become dissatisfied when they no longer garner the recognition and prestige they once gained through relationships, but are now derided for something other people once valued. In a battle of self-esteem, married and common law guys face off against MGTOW.